Did you know that every time you visualize yourself achieving a goal, you're actually reducing your chances to achieve it? I know, it sounds absolutely crazy, especially if you've spent a minute or two on social media in the past 3 years, because there has been a huge visualization trend, and everyone and their sister is telling you to visualize yourself in your dream car or in your dream job in order to keep yourself motivated, which honestly makes sense at first, but once you understand what is really going on in your brain, you will never think about your goals the same way again. If you're new here, hi, I'm Vicky. I show you how to use neuroscience and psychology to improve your life and achieve your goals faster. So if you want to know how to outsmart your brain without having to read through all of these, don't forget to subscribe. But now let's get into it. So what is going on in your brain when you visualize yourself achieving something? Well, the best way to understand this is through a little experiment. So for this, close your eyes and think of a big goal you have right now. And now imagine yourself a few months from now actually having achieved it. And try to visualize it as vividly as possible. How does that make you feel? Pretty good, right? And that's exactly the problem, because what feels so good is the dopamine in your brain's reward center, which is not a good thing. Because you can imagine dopamine like a carrot your brain puts in front of you to keep you going whenever you have to achieve something. The problem is that your brain can't really differentiate between an imagined scenario and a real one. So every time you imagine yourself accomplishing something, your brain actually thinks you accomplished it and then it gives you the carrot. But once it gave you the carrot, it automatically switches into rest mode, which means it lowers your blood pressure, relaxes you, and reduces your drive to get active, aka do things. So by visualizing yourself achieving a goal, you're essentially killing your motivation to put in the work, which is why you end up dreaming about your goal for years, but then procrastinating the work. Now, if you're like me and you still want to have a vision board because you enjoy the process or love the aesthetics or just simply want a visual reminder of your goals, then you can still have one, but you need to change your approach a little bit to actually make it work. So in a traditional vision board, you'd have a bunch of images of your dream life, of the goals you have, of your dream outcome. But as we just learned, that doesn't work. So instead of focusing on the outcome, you need to shift your focus on the process, on the work that you put in. So instead of putting up an image of your dream car, you should put up an image of yourself working on your career. Or if your dream is to run a marathon, you should have images that show how you put on your running shoes or get up early to go for a run before work. Anything that helps you visualize yourself putting in the work. And that's a visualization method that is actually helpful, because that way you're normalizing this behavior in your brain and you're lowering your mental barrier to actually do these things. An even better way would be to not only visualize what you do, but also who you are in the process. So for example, if your goal is to run a marathon, then don't just put up images of yourself running, but also visualize yourself as someone who genuinely enjoys running and wants to wake up in the morning to go for a run because it's so much fun. And that way you're connecting this goal to your identity, which makes it so much easier to stay consistent, because then you're not relying on motivation, but you're doing it because that's just who you are. And that's a completely different mental process, which is way more powerful. I've actually created a whole video on that, so check it out after this one if you want to try this approach. Now, there's another way to use visualization and vision boarding, but this one's a little bit controversial and not for everyone. But it's also the most powerful one and backed with several studies, so definitely worth a try. So next time you feel unmotivated and it feels super hard to get up and do the work, then visualize yourself failing. So really sit down and imagine yourself 5 years from now having achieved none of your goals because you gave up and you didn't put in the work. And really visualize how your life would look like and especially how you would feel knowing that you had the chance to put in the work, but you just simply didn't. And that will feel pretty shitty, I tell you, but that's exactly what we want, because it's just a sign that your brain realized that there's still a gap between where you are and where you want to be. So it takes out an even bigger carrot and puts it right in front of your face to keep you going and make you close that gap. Scientists call this defensive pessimism, and it has been proven to be one of the most powerful ways to motivate yourself. And if you want to take this a step further, you could also create an anti-vision board. So basically a vision board showing your life if you had failed, which makes it a little bit easier to actually visualize how your life would look like if you don't put in the work now. But yeah, this is only for people who are like me and really struggling with procrastination and need this tough love. If you don't struggle with motivation that much, then it's enough if you shift your focus from the outcome to the process, how you put in the work, and who you are in that process. And that will take you 10 times further than just looking at an image of you being successful, but then never putting in the work. And this is also a great example of why it's so important that you question trends that you bump into and understand the science behind it, because your brain is not always working in the most smart and logical way. And sometimes it's even working against you without you even noticing. And that's also the reason why I created this channel, because I wanted to make sure that wherever we put in our precious time and energy is actually working and doesn't just look good on paper. So if you learned a thing or two in this video, make sure to like and subscribe so that I can keep creating these kinds of videos for you. Thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye! It lowers your blood. It lowers your It lowers your blood pressure, which means it lowers your blood. Did you know that? No, I didn't know. You didn't know. We all didn't know.